Hi, welcome to Wings for Life. My name is Ann Edenfield-Sweet. I'm the executive director and the founder of Wings. And tonight we have a very special guest. And I did not remember until he reminded me about 12 years ago when I had an opportunity to meet with him. So you never know who's going to come out of the woods, and we find out success. And so we have Ronak Bhatt tonight, who has gone from MDC, that's our local jail here in Albuquerque, MDC to CPA, not just an accountant. This guy is a CPA. He not only has one office, he has two offices in New Mexico. And he has a remarkable journey that he's been on, and he wanted to come and share it with all of us. So if you've ever doubted if you could do something, you're going to hear tonight from a man that has done it. So Ronak, come on and tell everybody your story.
Thank you, Ann. You always have sweet things to say. Give me more credit than I deserve. But I'm grateful for the opportunity. I don't think I would have pictured when I first met Ann, doing this. But the biggest stake in my journey so far, and even before I started, it's never about where you're gonna be, where you're at right now. It's always about where you're gonna be. So I don't know, wherever we are right now in whatever stage in our lives, that's just a starting point. And where we're gonna end up, is determined by what we do next. So I hope I hope my message resonates with you folks, and I'm one of you in more ways than you know. So that was like my title for the presentation. It's never about where you are right now. It's about where you're going. So let's see where it all started. In jail. I was facing 9 years, and I didn't know if I was gonna get out. And I had run out of all options. I really didn't know if I was gonna get out. And I was on my last straw, and I was just praying, but it was one of my greatest failures that started my journey to do something about it. And I remember just almost giving up. I had a lot of despair, a lot of disappointment in myself. I was like, I just need one chance. I promise I'm going to get things better. I'm going to get my life organized. I'm going to do better, with the resources that I have. I just didn't use those words back in the day, but that was the sentiment, the deep down desire and the feeling. Every time the lights would shut off, and it was time for you to close your eyes and go to bed. That's kind of what I would be thinking about, is that I need another chance. And God give it to me. Like, somebody give me a chance to get out of here and do something. And that's whenever I started praying a lot. I think before then my spirituality was depleted, and definitely non-existent. I think I proclaimed myself as a higher power. I was above anybody and everybody, and I had this attitude that was just very reckless, as to nobody's gonna understand who I am or where I come from or what I do, so shut the hell up and let me do what I need to do, kind of thing. But at the end of the night, me and my cellmate, we would read. He introduced. He's like, "Hey, How about we read a psalm and a proverb, every day. So I was like, I guess whatever, don't have nothing better to do. So I guess I could brush up on my reading. And that's where it started. And then the story of Job came about, which was the first time I ended up, ever really getting interested or engaged into reading anything. So that was touching to me, coming from a completely different religious background, and trying to gain wisdom, in whatever was in front of me right there. And then I don't know, it just started building. We started doing the little things every day, in and out, and praying, or hoping, wishing, doing everything we could to kind of just like give us another chance, somebody get us out. I think there was a point where I started visualizing like somebody was gonna come and open these bars and let me out. Like, I don't know who, but somebody was going to do that. And it was just like, they say visualize, and it comes true. And eventually it did. Not after, not right away, but it did. So I was really grateful for that. That day came, and I had the opportunity to walk out, and I didn't care. It was December 8th, it was cold, and it was really cold. I didn't care. I only had like $20 in my pocket, nowhere to go, and basically I just wanted to make the most out of this opportunity. I didn't even look twice, gave away everything, whatever I had, I was just like, I'm ready to get out here. And I don't think I was as happy as I ever was in my life the minute that I got out of that van downtown, even though it's freezing and I didn't even have a jacket. And I didn't know what I was going to do next. But I was so happy. I think I was, ecstatic by having another opportunity to do something. And I really, really held that near and dear to my heart. That's one thing that I had that nobody was going to take away, is an opportunity. And I was like, man, I got out. I ended up finding a hotel. Tried to figure out how, but it still worked out. And I slept. And the next thing I did was get into a bus and go to DVR. Division of Vocational Rehabilitation. And I was like, man, I want to get back into school. Can you guys make that happen? I don't know how. I don't know how, but I want to do it. And can you guys help me? And surprisingly, they did. I didn't walk in there with this energy of like, I wanted you to give me something for nothing. I was ready to put in the hard work. I was ready to back up my lip service this time. I probably was very good with my words and very persuasive throughout my deviant days, but I never meant anything I said. Until that point, I meant it. And I was dead serious. Like, I was not, I needed to make something. I needed to do something. I felt like there was a greater purpose to my existence than just doing, stuck on addictions or mistakes or bad judgment calls or reacting off my emotions and fears. That was not, I didn't feel like that was my purpose to be on this planet. So I took that opportunity, filled out all the paperworks. So once I started looking at things differently, and it was hard. Like, I had to figure it out, right? You basically get dropped off and you're like, figure it out. So I'm figuring it out, and I think, that's one of the most common thing that any person has done in their life is figure it out. Like any successful people that I have known or came across or know of, they've figured it out. Regardless of the resources that they had in front of them, regardless of the challenges that were in front of them. And it didn't matter who was with or without, it didn't matter who was with them or not. They were going to figure it out. And that's what I needed to do. I needed to figure it out. So part of figuring it out was my attitude. I needed to figure out my attitude. It changed. Like, instead of you give me something, I deserve it and I'm entitled to it. I felt grateful for everything. I felt grateful to be outside. I felt grateful to touch, soak the sun in, on the bus stand. I felt grateful, just having opportunity to eat something that I desired. I felt grateful for having a privacy when I was sleeping or waking up. I started to appreciate all of the things in life that I took for granted. And it was interesting. I don't think a lot of people resonated with me while I experienced that at a young age. But I just try to be grateful. And part of being grateful came across people who had similar energies. That's whenever I first came across Anne. In December of that year, in those 2 weeks I met Anne. I think I was like, I don't know. I didn't have clothes. I didn't have much. So I was just looking for places that would help people like us. And I came across Wings, and I had like heard about them. I was in and out. Like, I didn't really know much, but I thought I was better. I thought I was better than Wings. I thought I was better than AA. I thought I was better than a lot of things. I thought I was better than school. So that night I wasn't better. I was a person needing help, and somebody who wouldn't judge me. I needed people who wouldn't judge me. I needed people who weren't gonna put me down. I needed people who were gonna give me some hope, and that's what I found when I came across Anne. And she had the most high energetic spirit that I've probably met throughout all my interactions with her, and so like she was just happy about the silliest things, and it's just like, I'm so excited, and I'd be looking at her and saying like, what are you excited about? You have no idea what I need to get through right now. And I was like, but she it helped, because I needed that energy. I needed somebody to instill some hope, some light in me. Anne was one of those people. Wings, Life International was the organization who ended up giving me a jacket. In the cold nights where I didn't have, a jacket. And it meant a lot. I carried that, even though it was used and old, and, that jacket kept me warm and made me feel comfortable, part of like the organization. Somehow, some way we had something in common. And that was meaningful experience. It was a blessing in many ways that I didn't understand before, but retrospectively I do. It takes time for us to really understand what life throws at us, So I ended up, started going everywhere with that jacket, trying to apply for a job, and she would be telling me about returning citizen and using all of this vocabulary that I was never introduced to, and she gave me some tips, and she was always there to coach, gave me rides, going back and forth, so that was amazing to see somebody wanting to help me without having any expectation in return. I don't think I experienced that ever before in my life. Like somebody always wanted something in exchange for something. But it wasn't that feeling, and that's not the feeling I got from Anne. And she invited me to a Christmas party that a few weeks later. And I ended up attending, and I think it was one of my first Christmas parties that I got to have an opportunity to attend. I don't think anybody ever invited me to a Christmas party. They didn't want me around. It's like this guy, no, let's just keep him out the list. But she did, and I was just people watching that whole night, looking at everybody's life and where mine was, comparing, feeling ashamed, embarrassed, but also inspired in some way. Looking back, just saying, damn, like, when's my life gonna get better? And what do I got to do for it to be better? I think that was like, my wish towards Santa in a way, saying like, what do I got to do? Like, show me, But people started coming around, and it all worked. It all started working out. Like pieces to the puzzle started falling in places, in the right places for once, and I wasn't even trying. It was like I just wanted to do the right thing, and I wanted to make the most of my time, my energy, and every dollar that I had in my pocket. And I was just looking at the next thing. Like, what do I got to do next? Do I need to get an apartment? Do I need to get a car? Do I need to get a license? Do I need to get a tie? Do I need to get a shirt? What do I need to do next? And once I started just trying to do those things, the people started coming around and empowering me and helping me when I least expected it. I think I ended up getting a grant from, it was like, finally, like the things at the DVR worked out, and I had the opportunity to now apply to CNM. And somehow, some way, the president or the dean, the deadline already passed for scholarship applications and what have you. And I was like, great, my luck. And then I just like, I'm just going to go talk to him. I'm going to make one more attempt. And that one more attempt led to, he's like, you know what? I'll figure it out. This is extenuating circumstances. And I didn't even know the meaning of that word. But I was like, great, thank you. And I'll see you, in January. And so I think attitude, determines outcomes, and gratefulness changes everything. And that's been one of the key lessons that I've got to embrace, throughout this journey. And then looking at, I think throughout the times people have always used this expression, or you can call it cliche, beauty lies in the eye of the beholder. And I never really understood the meaning of it, but I think today I have the ability to, because it's like I looked at every problem as an opportunity. Like, I get to go on campus today. Like, I get to ride the bus today. I get to eat, Frontier's burrito today. I think it was just like, I get to do this. I get to do this. And that was amazing. I get to be employed. I get to have some money in my bank account. I think those were the little things that I kept repeating to myself along the way. And things just started changing around me, because something inside me was changing. I didn't know what it was or how it was going to be, but I know before I got into the deviant days, and my bad behaviors and my poor ways, I definitely felt something changing inside me too. And this time it was a different effect, where it was changing for the right reasons. It was going towards a purpose. It was aligning with the universe. So, and that's where it comes out to my next point, is that another thing I learned is that you get what you give. I gave life, and Nipsey Hussle, he's one of my inspirations. Don't tell my clients that, but he said, I gave life everything I had, and he gave it to me right back. So like, once I started giving everything that I had inside me towards the goals and the vision that I wanted to pursue, the projects, the purpose, everything started kind of coming back. It's like you get what you give. If I gave respect, somebody gave respect to me. If I was grateful, they were grateful for my presence. I think once I started to be more sincere, people started to take me more sincerely. The more I was authentic to myself, the more the world started to become authentic to me. I would have never now I grasp it 10 decades plus later, but and I got to think about some of these things whenever I talked to Ann a couple of weeks ago, and we were trying to scramble to arrange this. I think that's when I really took the time to go back and say, what did I learn throughout this process? These are the things that I learned. And this is one of the biggest things that I learned, is that honesty is everything. And before I was completely dishonest. You couldn't get me to be honest to save my life. Somebody said, I'll give you $1 million if you're just straight with me. And I've been like, well, what else can I give you in return for that $1 million? It's like I would never be straight with anybody. I was never honest about what I truly wanted, what my intentions were, what I was going after. But once I started to be honest with myself more than anything, I started realizing that has true power. Truth has true power. I felt it in my bones. So going through all of this, I passed so I ended up passing the associates. I got on the dean's list, ended up getting a scholarship to attend UNM, which was a big fight. But because I got on the dean's list, all my professors wrote me letters of recommendation saying that he could go to campus. He's not going to go cause havoc because of his record, and then they finally let me study at UNM. And then I graduated with a bachelor's with honors, and then I was like, oh, what's next? And more things started coming. And then I started studying, but I also needed a job. I needed a professional job in the arena that I wanted to practice in. So I was like so sweating this, right? I was so sweating this, like, oh my God, my background's gonna come up, and like I thought about all of this, but I thought up to my bachelor's. Now I don't know what I'm gonna do, and I don't even know. I didn't even think I was gonna get here. So I was shooting for the stars, and I was a nervous wreck. Just like I had so much anxiety thinking about every time you apply for a job, they're gonna ask me for a background check. What am I gonna do? Is this all for a freaking waste? Like, what am I gonna do? And like I'm like stuck, and then like it's like you need a CPA firm experience to become a CPA. So I needed to have a job. Like, I needed to work under a CPA for an extended amount of time. So I'm just like, man, what am I going to do? So I resorted back to spirituality. I resorted back to honesty. I resorted back to being grateful and try to stick to the fundamentals. And I was dead honest. You know, I remember walking in, I had a few relationships. I talked to my professors, what should I do? I was honest with them. I started talking to my probation officer. And, you know, I was honest with them. I tried talking to everybody that you could probably imagine about what should be my next move and how should I tackle this. You know, in the interview, after the interviews went well, and whenever the background came, I kind of froze. But like, I learned a couple of times I failed at it, and then the third or fourth time, I was like, you know what? Forget this. The next time I went in for a background check, and after I passed my interview, I had like a big stack of my court records, and I put it in front of their HR record. I was like, this is what you're gonna find in my background check. You know, would you still give me the opportunity, because this is not who I am. Right? This does not define me anymore. This is not who I am, and this is not who I want to be. Right? And like, I think the HR lady was surprised, like completely surprised and baffled that I had like literally a big stack of all my court documents, you know, presented to her, asking for a job. And somehow, some way, you know, something sparked in her heart, and she said, and God bless her soul, you know, she said that, you know what, let me look into this, let me see what we can do. And that was better than a no. That was better than a maybe, you know. So I was like, oh my God, and I ended up finally breaking into the profession, gaining the valuable experience that I needed to do. Once I got in there, again, grateful, you know, respectful, very honest, you know, very on point, and started to move things forward. So I think honesty is everything. You know, even in the worst of the situations, if you're just straight up honest, you know, I think there's a way to get through things. Another lesson I learned is fear nothing. Right? Like, don't let fear hold you back from being honest, pursuing your dreams, being true to yourself. I'm gonna try to get through this a little faster because I think we're running short on time. But if you can get away from anything, you know, don't fear. Get anything from this experience would be like, don't fear anything, don't let nothing hold you back. You know, all of that is just mental. You know, I think once you make the efforts and the courage, you know, push through with a little bit of faith, you know, miracles will happen. And don't be afraid to say no. You know, a lot of the places where I ended up at, all of my mistakes were because I was afraid to say no. I was afraid to say no to partying. I was afraid to say no to bad company. I was afraid to say no, you know, for fun and excitement. But my life is different, you know, so I had to say no. And that was part of my journey. So in going in colleges, I had to say no to fraternities. I had to say no, you know, to bad choices. I had to have the discipline. I had to be determined and focused to what I needed to do and where I needed to be. And I wasn't going to waste any more time because I already wasted enough time in my life. The last thing is that please be true to yourself. As long as you're being true to yourself, you know, that's all that matters. Nothing else is going to matter, you know, because you're the one you wake up to every day. You look in the mirror. You're the one that has to answer to everybody and everything. You know, it's on you, on your shoulders. So just be true to yourself, and everything else works out. But if you have any other questions, you know, if there's a way I could be a resource, you know, please please reach out. And thank you for the opportunity to be with you guys and do this. And I appreciate everything you do.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Isn't he awesome? Oh my gosh. You need to speak at every prison, every jail, every graduation, any elementary, middle school, high school to inspire people. Wasn't that inspiring? Oh my gosh, thank you. And what he didn't say is, now I'll finish the rest of the story. Now he's a CPA. He's the CEO of Pillar. Notice the name Pillar because he wants to be a pillar in society. So Pillar CPAs. And now he has people working under him and in 2 different communities. Now that is true success. That is true success. Well, you know, I like to close with a story. So I'm going to close with a story. And this is 3 people that we all know their names. And I guess I'll tell you their names up front. But these were famous people who overcame major failures in their life. Ronak had some really difficult times in his life, and we know many other people that have had similar ones. But let's read about Walt Disney. All the adversity, he said, in my life, all my troubles and obstacles have strengthened me. You may not realize it when it happens, but a kick in the teeth may be just the best thing in the world for you. That's Walt Disney. And the man behind The Happiest Place on Earth was fired by an editor because he, quote, lacked imagination and had no good ideas. Now, can you imagine Walt Disney? He then started several other businesses that failed and ended in bankruptcy. But that did not stop him from bringing to life one of the most beloved animated characters, Mickey Mouse, and bringing to all the world Disney. That's Walt Disney. Now, Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs says, if I try my best and fail, well, I've tried my best. But what's he going to do? He's going to start again. So here's his story. Dropping out of college and quitting his first job to find himself didn't inhibit the Apple mastermind from becoming wildly successful. Even along the path to success, he was unceremoniously forced to leave the company that he started. Remember when that happened? Upon his return years later, he brought with him innovation and drive that made Apple one of the world's most iconic and successful technology companies today. And one last story. None of us lived around Abraham Lincoln's day, but his quote is, "My greatest concern is not whether you have failed, but whether you are content with your failure." And of course, President Lincoln, if we went through all the things that he failed at, but here are a few. President Abraham Lincoln had his share of failures and defeat in his lifetime before becoming one of our nation's greatest leaders. 30 years before winning his presidential election, he lost his job, failed at business, had a nervous breakdown, and lost 8 elections. Instead of giving up and looking only at failure, he persisted to become the 16th president of the United States. And of course, if we read about all the things that he failed at, but think about what he did. Now, Ronak told us his story today. For many people sitting behind bars, you could identify with almost every word that he said. I was nodding my head through almost everything that he said because he was so right on. And I loved when he said, attitude determines outcome, and it does. And what you feel and dream you can accomplish, generally you can get there. But you have to believe it, and you have to have that attitude that you're going to win. So tonight we've had that opportunity to win and hear success. And if you are with us on Zoom, of course, you're going to have a chance to meet and talk one-on-one with Ronak and hear more of his wisdom. If you are with us on YouTube or Facebook, this will be the end. But next week, I hope you'll be there. 6 o'clock, Monday, Mountain Time, 6 o'clock. And we have a very interesting group of folks here. It's called the Community Policing Council. And they work in the communities, they work with the police officers, and they try to establish relationships and try to build community in their specific area of town. And we have 4 of them here in Albuquerque. And so with all the turmoil that's going on around our world, we need to learn more about how can we all work together. And of course, we need to turn to the police when we need help, but how can we as community members help them? So next week, we're going to learn about the Community Policing Council. I hope you join us. And thanks so much for being with us tonight. What a great program. So thanks. Have a wonderful night. Good night.